Just wait, they said. Something big is coming. My name is Aaron. I'm 27. I live alone in a small town just outside Denver in a house I renovated with my own hands. I run a small interior design business, not glamorous but steady, quiet, like most of my life. My family doesn't really call me Aaron anymore. When they mention me, if they mention me, it's usually just your sister or her. Sometimes I wonder if I faded, or if they blurred me on purpose. So when Mum called 2 weeks before my birthday, I assumed it was a pocket dial, but she spoke first. "Hi, honey, I was just thinking. What day is your birthday this year?" I told her. "June 14th, same as it's always been." She made a little sound, almost like a giggle. "Well, maybe keep the day open, okay? Don't book anything. Something's in the works." I asked her what kind of something. She just said, "You'll see. It's big." 3 days later, my older brother Zach texted me. "Clear your day. You'll like what's coming. It's about time." Zach doesn't usually text me, not unless he needs design advice for his condo or a last-minute gift idea for Mum. But this time, he didn't ask for anything. He just sounded in on something, which made me hesitate. My family doesn't do birthday surprises. Not for me. Not since college, really. After I turned 22, they stopped even trying. There was the year they sent a group text at midnight with 2 emojis and no name. The year they told me they'd do something later, and later never came. Still, this felt different, like they were actually planning something together, and I wanted to believe them. So I cancelled my site visit that day and declined dinner with a friend. I even bought myself a small cake chocolate with a sugar flower on top from the same bakery my dad used to stop at when I was a kid. I cleaned the kitchen, lit a candle, set 2 plates on the table, not because I thought someone would show up, just in case. I put on the pearl earrings Grandma gave me when I was 16, and I waited. By noon, I'd refreshed my messages 5 times. By 2, I'd started checking Zach's socials just to see. The candle burned lower. The frosting on the sugar flower started to melt, and the only question that started to settle in heavier than the silence was, did they actually remember me this year, or did they just want me to hope they did? By 2:30, the candle had melted halfway down. The sugar flower drooped a little. I moved the plate, thinking I'd wait until dinner. I kept the table set for 2. I told myself maybe they were planning something in the evening. Maybe there'd be a group video call, a surprise delivery, even a message that started with, "Close your eyes." I didn't really believe any of it, but I didn't stop hoping either. I walked around the house, straightening picture frames, refolding a blanket, picking up a sock that wasn't really out of place. Anything to make the hours pass without looking too directly at them. At 4:15, I checked my phone again. No new messages, no missed calls, no text from Zach, nothing from Mum. Just a software update reminder and an email from a furniture vendor. I thought about calling them, just asking directly, "Is something still happening?" But I couldn't bring myself to. I didn't want to sound desperate or worse, be met with confusion. At 5, I sat at the table and stared at the second plate. I poured a glass of wine, not because I was celebrating, but because I needed something in my hand that wasn't a phone. I took 1 bite of cake. It tasted like sugar in silence. By 6:15, I opened Instagram, not to post anything, just to scroll. Everyone else seemed to be somewhere at dinners, parks, concerts, smiling beside balloons or holding dogs with birthday hats. I told myself that people post highlights. I told myself not to read into it, but my own screen was still quiet. No tags, no notes, no happy birthday, Aaron. I refreshed the family group chat. The last message was from 5 days ago. A photo of Paul's dog in a goofy sweater. Zach had commented on the legend. I had added a heart. No one had even noticed. By 700 hours, the candle gave up. I let it burn out on its own. I thought I might cry, but nothing came. There was no anger, no dramatic feeling, just stillness. I wasn't waiting anymore, but I still couldn't stop wondering what was the big thing, and how could it not include me? At 7:45, I opened Instagram again. I told myself it was out of boredom, but really, I was hoping for one photo, one mention, a candle emoji, even a blurry group shot with me tagged late. Instead, I found something else. A story posted just minutes ago. Mallory's account. I tapped it. It opened with a swing of string lights over a wooden deck, then panned slowly to a long dinner table. My parents, Zach, our Aunt Denise, even Uncle Leo, who lived 2 states away. Everyone is smiling. Glasses raised, napkins on laps. The family cabin, the one we'd stopped visiting because it was too far or needed repairs. The one I always offered to help fix, the one they said no one used anymore. Above the table, written in uneven gold script, hung a banner. Zach and Mallory forever starts now. The caption is a night to remember. DOS engaged again. Family first. I blinked, read it again. Engaged again. They were celebrating a second engagement. Not even the first, just a party, a redo. And somehow that had replaced my birthday. They hadn't forgotten. They had made a choice. And then I saw her. Mallory in soft pink, smiling, laughing, head tilted just enough to reveal the necklace, the locket. It caught the light for a moment, unmistakable. The oval was worn smooth at the edges with a small etching of leaves along the border. My grandmother's the one she wore every holiday, every graduation. The one she let me hold at her bedside when I was 12 and whispered, "This is for you, baby, when you're grown. When it's your time." After she passed, I asked about it once. Mum said she was keeping it safe. That was the end of it until now. Mallory wore it like an accessory. No hesitation, no meaning. I tapped to the next story. My mother was hugging her, wiping away a tear. The caption read, "Gained a daughter tonight." My stomach went still. It wasn't that they hadn't invited me. It was that I no longer belonged. And they weren't sorry. They were proud. Proud enough to post it. Proud enough not to hide it. I wasn't erased by mistake. I had been replaced carefully, deliberately, and with a toast. And maybe the worst part wasn't what they took. It was how easily they gave it away. I was 12 the last time I held the locket. Grandma had taken it off slowly, as if her fingers already knew time was slipping. We were sitting on her screened-in porch, a tray of orange slices between us. The summer air was thick and sweet. She looked at me. Really looked. Not through me, not past me. Just me. "You've got quiet eyes," she said. "Like your mama did when she was little." Then she reached for the necklace, unhooked the clasp, and pressed it into my palm. "This one's yours," she whispered. "When you're older, when the time is right." Inside the locket was a photo of her and Grandpa on their wedding day, both grinning like they'd gotten away with something. The other side held a folded paper heart cut unevenly. My name was scribbled on it in fading blue ink. Aaron Lee. I remember asking, "Should I keep it now?" She smiled. "No, but you'll know when it's meant to be yours." After she passed, I waited a few months before asking Mum about it. She brushed it off. "Oh, that old thing. I think I packed it up with her scarves. I'll check later." She never did. And I never asked again. I told myself it wasn't about the locket. It was just a thing. I had the memory. That was enough. But I lied to myself more than once over the years. I told myself she didn't forget me in her will. Maybe the lawyer made a mistake. I told myself maybe Mum was just overwhelmed with grief. That she meant to give it back, that it would come back to me when the time was right. It never did. And now seeing it around Mala's neck, resting like nothing against her expensive dress, I realised something. They didn't forget my name. They saw it, and decided it didn't matter. The locket wasn't just metal. It was proof that someone once looked at me and said, "You matter most." And now that proof belonged to someone who hadn't even been there when it was promised. I didn't say anything that night. Not to Mom, not to Zach, not even to Mallory. There was nothing to say. Nothing that wouldn't sound smaller than what they'd already done. Instead, I turned my phone face down and closed the curtains. By morning, I was empty. Not sad, not furious, just done. I opened the family group chat, scrolled through months of shared links, photos of Paul's dog birthday emojis for Zach casserole recipes from Aunt Denise. My name or anything about me barely appeared. It wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. I clicked the leave group. No message popped up. Number, are you sure? Just gone. Then I went to Instagram, unfollowed Zach, unfollowed Mallory, muted Mum's account. Not out of spite, but survival. And then I paused. I opened Zach's profile one last time. His story was still up. He'd added something overnight, a short clip. Mallory blowing out candles. My father is clapping in the background. My mother holding up a wine glass, and Zach's voice saying to the only woman who ever made this family feel whole. I replayed that line 3 times. The only woman. So that's what I was now, a placeholder, a silence, a role waiting to be recast. It wasn't just Mom and Dad who let me drift. It was Zach too. The same brother who once built a Lego bridge with me for 3 straight days. The same Zach who called me after his first breakup asking if sadness was supposed to feel like hunger. He had said, "Clear your day," and he had used that day to celebrate someone else. No apology, no explanation, just erasure. I closed the app. That afternoon, I boxed up the last framed photo I had of all 4 of us. It had been taken at the cabin before Mallory, before silence. I wrapped it in newspaper and slid it to the back of the closet. I didn't delete it, but I didn't need it out in the open anymore. That night, I didn't light a candle. I didn't check my phone. I watched the sky dim slowly through the window and let it be quiet. Not the silence of being forgotten, but the silence of finally stopping the wait. And the question that kept echoing, the one I hadn't dared ask until now. If this is what they do when they say they love me, what would they do if I asked for nothing? The message came 3 days later. It wasn't from Mum, not from Dad either. It was from Zach. "Hey, saw you left the group. Is everything okay?" I stared at the screen for a long time. It was the kind of text you send when you already know the answer, but hope the other person will lie to make it easier. I didn't respond. 4 hours later, another ping. "Look, I get that you're upset, but can we just talk?" Mallory didn't mean anything by it. Neither did Mom. Still no reply. The next day he called. I let it ring out twice. Then he texted again. "You're my sister. That has to mean something, right?" I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it sounded like a line from a show neither of us believed in anymore. By the end of the week, Mum emailed. "Hi, sweetheart. We missed you last weekend. It was all very last minute. Hope you're well. Let's catch up soon." No mention of my birthday. No apology. Not even a sorry we forgot. Just polished nothing. But the subject line stayed with me. Still family. Still, as in despite everything. As if they had done something noble by thinking of me at all. A few days later, Zach showed up at my door. He didn't call first, just stood there holding a bag of bagels from our favourite bakery, like that could undo the rest. I opened the door, but not wide. He held out the bag, blueberry and plain, like always. I didn't take it. He shifted awkwardly. "Look, Aaron, I know you're hurt, but do you really want to make this a thing? It was just a celebration. It wasn't about you." I said nothing. He sighed. "I'm getting married. Can we not start this whole division thing right now?" There it was, the ask. Not for understanding, not for repair, just for peace. his version of peace. Can we just move on? He added softer. I looked at him then, not as my brother but as someone who had picked a side and needed me not to cause trouble. I said the only thing I knew he wouldn't argue with. I'm not trying to ruin anything, Zach. I'm just not pretending anymore. He nodded like that settled it, like I had agreed to silence, but I hadn't. I had just agreed to be done. I didn't go to the bridal shower, didn't RSVP, didn't respond to the AIT Mallory's cousin sent with pastel clip art and forced exclamation points. I wasn't surprised they invited me. It looked good, kept things neat. On paper, it proved there were no hard feelings. I let it sit in my inbox unopened until it expired. A week later, Mum called. I picked it up this time. "Sweetheart," she said, like nothing had happened. "Everyone missed you." I stayed quiet. Zach said, "You're still upset." "We didn't mean to leave you out. Things just moved fast. You know how it is." I almost said, "I know exactly how it is." But I didn't, because silence speaks louder when people expect forgiveness. Then she asked, "Will, you come to the wedding at least? It's important to your brother." I didn't answer right away. I looked around my house, the space I built, the life I built without them, and realized something I hadn't been able to say before. "I used to be there," I said finally. "You just didn't look at me." The line went quiet, not dropped, just hollow. Mom cleared her throat. "That's not true, honey." But it was, and she knew it. I didn't say anything else, didn't hang up. I just let the silence stretch between us until she muttered, "Well, let me know." Click. I sat with it for a long time. No rage, no grief, just stillness. Not the stillness of waiting, the stillness of being done. I used to be there. You just didn't look at me. A week before the wedding, I wrapped the locket. Not in a gift box, not in tissue paper, just a plain white envelope, the kind used for utility bills or court summons. I slipped the locket inside, still warm from my palm. No note, no card, just the necklace. I walked it to the post office myself. The clerk asked if I wanted tracking. I said no. I addressed it by hand. Mallory Green, Colorado Zachary West. Then I mailed it. No return address, no name, just the locket going exactly where they thought it belonged. Now I didn't need it back. I didn't need them to understand. I only needed it out of my house. That Sunday, I received one final message from Zach. "Did you send this?" I didn't reply. There was nothing left to clarify. That night, I took down the last photo of my family still hanging in the hallway. I replaced it with something I had framed years ago, but never displayed a simple sketch I made in college. A chair drawn in charcoal, sitting slightly off-center in an empty room. One chair unoccupied still. I hung it straight, stepped back, and looked. A reminder I was there. I stayed at the table long after my seat had been cleared. They wouldn't say my name at the wedding. They wouldn't toast to me in speeches. They might not even notice the envelope arrived, but they'd know. Somewhere deep and wordless, they would know I saw everything. I remembered. And I chose to leave the door open behind me, not so I could come back, but so they'd know I didn't have to. If you ever left quietly, just so they'd feel the silence louder, you don't need to explain. Just leave a dot.